The silent observers. The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Confederation vibrated with the collective voices of 200 species. Crystalline pillars stretched toward a transparent dome that revealed the purple-tinged atmosphere of Nexus Prime, the capital world where representatives from across known space gathered to discuss matters of galactic importance. Dr. Verix Null stood before them, his four-fingered hands trembling slightly as he adjusted the holographic display. His silver-scaled skin caught the light as he cleared his throat, a sound like distant thunder in the cavernous hall. "Esteemed members of the Confederation," he began, his voice amplified across the chamber. "As Chief Archaeologist of the Historical Sciences Division, I present to you evidence of a species long considered mythical." A murmur rippled through the assembly. Verix activated his presentation, and a holographic image materialized above the central platform. Crude drawings from a dozen worlds showing bipedal creatures with no scales, feathers, or exoskeletons. Just smooth skin and strange, flat faces. Humans, Verix said, appear in the historical records of 17 different civilizations, always described the same way, always vanishing from those records at approximately the same time, 800 galactic cycles ago. High Arbiter Zix, the massive, mantis-like leader of the Confederation Council, clicked his mandibles impatiently. "Dr. Null, we've all heard the human myths. Creatures who could survive radiation, regrow limbs, and possessed unusual psychological tenacity. Children's stories to frighten the young. With respect, Arbiter," Verix persisted, "the consistency of these accounts across completely unrelated cultures suggests. It suggests nothing but the tendency for primitive societies to create similar archetypes," interrupted Delegate Moore of the Cephian Collective, her gelatinous form pulsing with bioluminescent irritation. "Next you'll tell us the Void Eaters are real as well." Laughter echoed through the hall. Verix's frill flattened against his neck in embarrassment, but he continued. "3 days ago, our research team discovered this." Verix projected a new image, a metal disc with strange markings. Carbon dating places it at approximately 800 cycles old. The symbols match what previous archaeological findings have identified as human language. Before the council could respond, the chamber doors slid open. A security officer rushed in, breaking all protocol. The slender Vithari's fur stood on end, a sign of extreme distress in her species. "Forgive the interruption," she gasped, "but we've lost contact with Outpost Kappa 9. The assembly fell silent. "Pirates, no doubt," High Arbiter Zix said dismissively. "This session will." "Not pirates," the officer interrupted, her voice quivering. Before communication was lost, they transmitted this. A new hologram appeared, showing a Vithari officer. Behind him, strange vessels moved against the backdrop of stars, sleek, angular ships unlike any Confederation design. "This is Commander Loros of Outpost Kappa 9. The recording began. "We've detected multiple vessels of unknown origin. They appeared without triggering our long-range sensors. Their technology is impossible. They're everywhere, watching us. The old stories, they're The transmission cut to static. Chaos erupted in the assembly hall. High Arbiter Zix raised all 4 arms, demanding silence. "This is clearly some technical malfunction or elaborate hoax," Zix declared. "Nevertheless, we will dispatch a security fleet to investigate. This meeting is adjourned." As the delegates filed out, Verix downloaded the transmission data to his personal device. Something about those ships seemed familiar, though he couldn't place why. 3 days later, Verix sat in his cramped office surrounded by ancient texts and artifacts. The walls were lined with fragments from a dozen worlds, pieces of what might have been human technology. Most scholars dismissed them as misidentified alien artifacts or outright forgeries, but Verix had always sensed something unique about them. His assistant, Tella, a young Ashadi with vibrant blue plumage, burst into his office without knocking. "Doctor," she chirped urgently, "the security fleet sent to Kappa 9 has gone silent too." Verix's inner eyelids flickered rapidly. How many ships? 5 cruisers, fully crewed. Over 1,000 personnel. Tella's feathers ruffled anxiously. There's something else. Before contact was lost, they reported finding Kappa 9 completely intact but abandoned. No signs of struggle, no bodies. Just empty. A chill ran through Verix's body. And the Council's response. They're mobilizing the defense armada, Tella said, but it will take days to assemble. Meanwhile, 3 more outposts along the outer rim have gone silent in the same manner. Verix pulled up a star chart and marked the locations of the affected outposts. Then he overlaid it with ancient data purportedly showing the direction in which humans had fled centuries ago. They aligned perfectly. Tella, he said quietly, I need to get to the outer rim. Immediately. Unofficial transport. That's impossible, she protested. The Council has restricted all civilian travel to that sector. I have to see for myself, Verix insisted, gathering his research materials. If what I suspect is happening is true, the Council is about to blunder into something they don't understand. Tella hesitated, then nodded. My clutch sister pilots a fast courier ship. She owes me a favor. She lowered her voice. But doctor, what exactly do you think is happening? Verix held up the metal disc that had started all this. Under certain light, it reflected in a way that revealed more detail, what appeared to be a symbol of a planet with continents that matched no known world in Confederation space. I think, he said slowly, that the myths have returned. 2 days later, Verix's small transport approached the coordinates of Outpost Sigma 12, the most recently silenced Confederation installation. Tella's sister, Kira, piloted the ship with the practiced ease of someone who regularly traversed contested space. Scanners show nothing unusual, Kira reported, her talons dancing across the controls. The outpost appears intact. Can you get us closer? Verix asked, peering at the view screen. The station hung in space, a gleaming hexagonal structure that should have housed 50 personnel. No lights flickered from its windows. No communication signals emanated from its arrays. Something's wrong, Kira muttered as they approached the docking bay. The station's defense systems aren't challenging us. They should have. A flash of light surrounded their ship. The engines died instantly. What happened? Verix demanded, panic rising in his throat. Some kind of energy pulse, Kira said, frantically trying to restart the systems. We're dead in space. The ship drifted helplessly toward the outpost. As they neared the docking bay, Verix saw movement, bipedal figures in sleek armor moving with practiced efficiency. By the void, Tella whispered, her plumage flattening in fear. Are those humans? Verix confirmed, a mixture of terror and scientific excitement washing over him. They're real. Their ship was pulled into the bay by an invisible force. Through the viewport, they watched as figures approached, tall, bipedal, encased in dark armor that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Helmets concealed their faces, but their movements were unnervingly fluid. The airlock hissed open. 3 armored figures entered, weapons held at the ready. Please, Verix said, raising his hands in the universal gesture of surrender. We are not hostile. I am Dr. Verix Null, archaeologist. I studied your kind for years. The lead figure paused, then reached up and removed their helmet. Verix gasped, just as the ancient texts described. Smooth skin, no scales or feathers, a face with 2 forward-facing eyes, a small nose, and a mouth filled with flat teeth. The human skin was dark brown, hair cut short against their skull. Dr. Null, the human said, their voice surprisingly gentle. We've been watching your presentations to the Confederation Council with great interest. My name is Commander Lyra Chen of the Earth Reconnaissance Fleet. She smiled, an expression Verix recognized from his studies, but had never expected to see in person. I believe we have much to discuss. Hours later, Verix sat in what had once been the outpost commander's office. The humans had converted it into a command center filled with technology unlike anything he had ever seen. Commander Chen sat across from him, her armor exchanged for a simple dark uniform with strange symbols on the shoulders. "For 300 years, we've watched the Confederation grow," Chen explained, providing Varix with a warm beverage that smelled surprisingly pleasant. "Studied your species, your politics, your technology." From the shadows, Varix noted, sipping the drink cautiously. It was sweet and invigorating. "We had no choice," Chen replied. "The last time humanity revealed itself to an interstellar power, it nearly resulted in our extinction." Varix's frill extended in surprise. "The ancient texts speak of humans fleeing some great calamity." "Genocide," Chen corrected, her expression hardening. 800 years ago, Earth, our homeworld, was attacked without warning by a coalition of species. 3 billion people died in the first day. Those who survived fled to the stars, scattered across thousands of ships. The Confederation would never sanction such. "The Confederation didn't exist then," Chen interrupted. "But some of its founding species did, including the Cephians and the Vithari." She activated a holographic display showing ancient ships that Varix recognized as early versions of current Confederation designs. "For centuries, we've rebuilt in the darkness of uncharted space, watching, waiting, trying to understand why we were targeted for extinction. And now you've returned," Varix said, a dawning horror creeping through him as he realized the implications. "Your fleet, how large is it?" Chen's smile returned, but it held no warmth this time. "Let me show you." She activated another display, showing a vast armada of ships hidden behind the system's moon. Thousands of vessels, ranging from small fighters to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed anything in the Confederation fleet. "The Armada of Earth stands ready," Chen said quietly. "But we didn't come for revenge, Doctor. We came for the truth." Varix stared at the display, his scientific mind racing. "And the missing personnel from the outposts?" "Safe," Chen assured him. "We've relocated them to temporary habitation spheres. None have been harmed." She leaned forward. "We need allies within the Confederation, Dr. Null. People who will help us uncover the truth about what happened to Earth without triggering an interspecies war." Varix met her gaze, seeing in those alien eyes an intelligence and determination that matched the ancient descriptions. The myths had indeed returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. The next day, the sensor arrays of the approaching Confederation Defense Armada detected something unprecedented. A massive fleet of unknown vessels, decloaking directly in their path. Thousands of ships appearing seemingly from nowhere, their design unlike anything recorded in Confederation archives. And across every communication channel, a single message played. "Attention Confederation vessels. This is Captain Ilara Hayes of the Earth Fleet. We come seeking answers, not war. But make no mistake, we are prepared for either." The sky had filled with Earth's warships, and the myths had become reality. The Reckoning. Grand Admiral Cole of the Confederation Defense Armada stared at the viewscreen in disbelief. His carapace clicked nervously as he assessed the situation. Thousands of unknown vessels faced his fleet, their sleek, predatory designs unlike anything in Confederation records. "Full defensive posture," he ordered, his mandibles twitching with tension. "Shields at maximum. Weapons armed but not targeting." His second-in-command, a Vithari named Thrix, approached cautiously. "Admiral, they outnumber us 3-1, and their energy signatures suggest technology far beyond our capabilities." "I'm aware," Cole replied grimly. "Open a channel." The view screen flickered, revealing a human female. She had pale skin, sharp features, and dark hair pulled tightly back from her face. Her eyes, a startling blue, regarded Cole with calm assessment. "This is Captain Ilara Hayes of the Earth Fleet," she said without preamble. "Your ships will power down weapons systems and prepare to receive a diplomatic delegation." Cole bristled at the command. This is Confederation space. You will identify your purpose and— Admiral, Hayes interrupted. We've spent 8 centuries observing your Confederation. We know your capabilities. We know your protocols. And most importantly, we know your history. Her expression remained neutral, but her voice carried steel. You have 2 options, diplomacy or demonstration. Choose wisely. Before Cole could respond, a smaller view screen activated. High Arbiter Zix appeared, his compound eyes glittering with anger. Admiral, you are ordered to engage the hostile fleet immediately. This is clearly an invasion force. Captain Hayes smiled thinly. Your council seems eager for conflict. Admiral, before you follow that order, perhaps you should speak with Dr. Varric Null. He's currently aboard my flagship. The view screen split, and Varric appeared. Admiral Cole, Arbiter Zix, I urge restraint. These humans have not harmed any Confederation citizens. The personnel from the outposts are safe. Traitor, Zix hissed. You conspire with invaders. Not invaders, Varric countered. Survivors seeking truth. I've seen evidence of a genocide committed against their species 8 centuries ago. A genocide that data suggests involved precursor species to the Confederation. Cole's antennae twitched in shock. These are serious accusations. Indeed, Captain Hayes said, which is why we propose a joint investigation. Your ships and ours will proceed to neutral space. Leaders from both sides will review the evidence. Justice can be determined from there. Preposterous, Zix sputtered. Admiral, I order you to— Perhaps, a new voice interrupted. We should hear them out. A new figure appeared on the screen, an elderly Cephian, her gelatinous form pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that indicated great age and wisdom. Elder Moza, the most respected historian in the Confederation. I have reviewed Dr. Null's preliminary findings, she said, her voice resonating with authority. There are disturbing correlations with sealed historical archives from the pre-Confederation era. Silence fell across all channels. Finally, Admiral Cole spoke. Captain Hayes, I propose a temporary ceasefire. Our ships will maintain position while representatives meet on neutral ground. Hayes nodded. Acceptable. We'll transmit coordinates for a suitable meeting point. As the communication ended, Cole turned to his second. Maintain battle readiness, but hold position. He gazed at the massive human fleet. The Council won't be pleased. The Council, Thrix replied quietly, may have much to answer for. Aboard the human flagship Nemesis, Varric followed Captain Hayes through corridors filled with humans going about their duties. Every face they passed turned to stare at him, some with curiosity, others with barely concealed hostility. Your people have never seen aliens before, Varric asked. Only in historical records and simulation programs, Hayes replied. You're the first non-human most of them have encountered in person. They entered a vast chamber where dozens of humans in various uniforms gathered around a central holographic display. At the head of the table stood an elderly human with dark skin and white hair, his posture still rigid despite his apparent age. Dr. Null, Hayes said, this is Fleet Admiral Thomas Chen, commander of Earth's forces. The Admiral's eyes, a deep brown, studied Varric intently. Doctor, I understand you've spent your career researching legends of humanity. Yes, Admiral, Varric replied, his frill extending slightly in respect. Though I never expected to meet the subjects of my research in person. Few did, Chen said grimly. That was by design. After the fall of Earth, our ancestors made a decision. We would vanish from galactic knowledge, become a myth, use that obscurity to rebuild, to prepare. He gestured to the holographic display, showing the positions of both fleets. For 8 centuries, we've developed our technology, expanded our population, established hidden colonies across uncharted space, all while watching us, Varric noted. Of course, Hayes interjected. Would you not observe those who tried to exterminate you? Varix's frill flattened in embarrassment. The current confederation bears little resemblance to whatever powers existed 8 centuries ago. Many species have joined since then. True, Admiral Chen acknowledged, which is why we've chosen diplomatic contact rather than immediate retribution. He activated a new display showing ancient records, ship designs, and star charts. What we seek is acknowledgement, justice, and assurance that history won't repeat itself. Varix examined the data with a scientist's eye. The evidence was compelling. Records of a coordinated attack on a planet called Earth, billions dead, survivors hunted across space. Why? He asked finally. Why target humanity for extinction? That, Hayes said quietly, is what we intend to find out. The neutral meeting ground turned out to be an abandoned space station at the edge of Confederation territory, a relic from an earlier era of expansion. Representatives from both sides arrived in small diplomatic vessels, heavily guarded but committed to discussion rather than violence. High Arbiter Zix led the Confederation delegation, accompanied by Elder Moza, Admiral Cole, and representatives from 12 major species. Varix stood uncomfortably between the two groups, officially representing the Historical Sciences Division, but feeling increasingly like a bridge between two potential enemies. Admiral Chen led the human delegation, with Captain Hayes and several other high-ranking officers flanking him. They carried with them data crystals, physical artifacts, and recorded testimonies spanning centuries. For 800 years, Chen began without preamble. Humanity has lived with the memory of genocide. Earth, our homeworld, a blue planet teeming with life and culture, was attacked without warning or provocation. 3 billion souls extinguished in a coordinated assault by ships bearing markings similar to those now used by Confederation species. Zix's mandibles clicked dismissively. Ancient history, if true at all. None here were alive then. True, Chen acknowledged. But institutions remember, policies endure, prejudices survive generations. He activated a holographic display showing records recovered from an ancient database. We seek to understand why humanity was targeted. What threat did we pose to warrant extinction? Elder Moza floated forward, her gelatinous form rippling thoughtfully. There are sealed records from the pre-Confederation era, she admitted, archives that few have accessed for centuries. She extended a tendril toward the human data. Your evidence corresponds with fragments I've studied. Then you know why humanity was targeted, Hayes demanded. Not precisely, Moza replied, but there was a belief among certain elder species that humans possessed dangerous potential, a capacity for rapid adaptation, technological innovation, and psychological resilience that some found threatening. We were exterminated for our potential. Hayes's voice was incredulous. No, a new voice interrupted. Delegate Moore of the Cephian Collective entered the chamber, flanked by guards. You were exterminated because you were dangerous. Tension crackled through the room. Admiral Chen's expression remained neutral, but his eyes hardened. Explain, he said simply. Moore's form pulsed with agitation. I've accessed the sealed archives. Humanity was observed for centuries before the intervention. Your species advanced from primitive technology to space travel in a fraction of the time it took other races. You weaponized every discovery. Your history was marked by constant warfare among yourselves. Her voice took on a lecturing tone. The coalition of elder species foresaw that humans would eventually dominate the galaxy through aggression and technological superiority. Preemptive action was deemed necessary. Silence fell across the chamber. Finally, Captain Hayes spoke, her voice controlled but vibrating with anger. You justified genocide based on prediction, on potential, on the actions of our ancestors who were still learning to live together as a species. It was considered necessary, Moore insisted. And looking at your armada, it seems the prediction was accurate. You survived and built warships. We built warships because you tried to exterminate us. Hayes slammed her hand on the table. Humanity had just achieved unity when the attack came. We had established peace on Earth after millennia of learning from our mistakes. Admiral Chen placed a restraining hand on Hayes's arm. "What matters now is where we go from here," he said calmly. "Humanity stands ready. We can be powerful allies or formidable enemies to the Confederation. The choice is yours." High Arbiter Zix studied the humans with his compound eyes. "You speak of alliance after revealing a fleet positioned to strike at the heart of Confederation space. A fleet we've had in position for decades without attacking," Chen pointed out. "If conquest were our aim, we would have struck long ago." Elder Mozad drifted between the two groups. "Perhaps," she suggested, "both sides have been guided by fear. The elder species feared human potential. Humans, in turn, built their civilization around the fear of further attacks." Her bioluminescence pulsed in patterns indicating deep thought. 8 centuries have passed. The galaxy has changed. The Confederation is not the coalition that attacked Earth. Varric stepped forward. "The archaeological record shows that humans were not just warriors but builders, artists, explorers. Their resilience is matched by their creativity." He turned to the human delegation. "And humans have changed too, haven't they? 800 years in the stars must have transformed your culture, your perspectives." Admiral Chen nodded slowly. "We've evolved, adapted. Our colonies developed distinct cultures while maintaining our shared humanity." A faint smile crossed his weathered face. "We've spent centuries preparing for this moment, not just militarily, but diplomatically, trying to understand what kind of relationship might be possible with the descendants of those who tried to destroy us." High Arbiter Zix's mandibles worked thoughtfully. "The Confederation Council will need time to process this information, to consider the implications." "Of course," Chen agreed. "But know this, humanity has returned to galactic society. We will not hide in the shadows any longer. We seek justice for our past, but more importantly, security for our future. And if the Confederation decides you remain a threat, more challenged," Captain Hayes smiled coldly, "then the sky will fill with Earth's warships, and this time it won't be for talk." 3 months later, Dr. Varric Null stood in the newly constructed human embassy on Nexus Prime. Through the transparent dome above, he could see a human ship in orbit, small and diplomatic, but a powerful symbol nonetheless. Captain Hayes, now Ambassador Hayes, studied a holographic display of the latest trade agreement between Earth and the Confederation. "Strange how quickly fear can transform into opportunity," she remarked. 3 months ago, we were preparing for possible war. "Knowledge overcame fear," Varric replied, his frill extending in pleasure. "The Reformation Accords have changed everything. The Cephian admission of historical wrongdoing, the reparations program, the technology exchange initiatives, and the Joint Defense Pact," Hayes added. "Who would have thought that humanity's warships would one day protect Confederation worlds? The galaxy is full of unknown threats," Varric noted. "Better to face them as allies than enemies." A communication alert chimed. Admiral Chen's face appeared in a holographic projection. "Ambassador, Doctor," he greeted them. "The Deep Space Expedition has confirmed it. A new threat approaches from beyond the galactic rim, exactly as the ancient Earth prophecies warned." Hayes and Varric exchanged glances. The discovery of the true reason behind humanity's near extinction had been shocking, not just aggression or fear, but knowledge of something worse approaching. The elder species had believed that only by eliminating humanity could they appease the entities that lurked beyond known space. "How long do we have?" Hayes asked. 5 years, perhaps less," Chen replied grimly. Varric's scientific mind raced with the implications. "Then we must prepare. Combined human and Confederation technology might be enough to—" "It will be enough," Hayes interrupted with characteristic human certainty. "Because this time, we face the threat together." As they turned to study the preliminary data, Varric reflected on how quickly the impossible had become reality. The myths had returned, the sky had filled with Earth's warships, and the galaxy would never be the same. But perhaps, just perhaps, That was exactly what the galaxy needed.